From the WGBH newsroom in Boston, I'm Adam Reilly with another mayoral preliminary election edition of the Scrum. I'm joined by David Bernstein, WGBH political analyst and contributing editor of Boston Magazine, and Peter Kadzis, our other WGBH political analyst. Guys, I think it's been, roughly 2 hours since you scrummed with Emily Rooney, right? What is your sense now? There's some new voting numbers in. What's your sense about where this prelim election is heading and who's going to be in the final two when the votes are counted?
Well, I'll go first because I think David may disagree with me or have a different nuanced impression.
Sure.
I see this as shaping up as a very traditional Boston preliminary election. Turnout's running a little higher than it usually does, but despite a lot of untraditional candidates, I think this is going to be an election where we most likely will find, it could be an upset, and I suspect David may talk about that, but that I think we're going to find that the candidates with big organizations, good ground games, clear messages, and strong neighborhood roots are most likely going to be the ones that make it to the final.
All right, and when you talk about turnout, maybe being a little ahead of where people expect it to be, it's around 20, edging toward 20%.
It's edging.
Right?
It was a little above 18, wasn't it, David?
Something like that, as of 3 o'clock.
Yeah, as of 3 o'clock.
Which, unlike Larry DeCar and people like that, I don't have the turnout from every election ever in my brain, easy to access. But 20% is not incredibly impressive.
Well,
right?
and we're probably a little over halfway in terms of the total number of votes that will come out. So I think that depending on how it goes, we'll probably be somewhere in the 110,000 total turnout. But it actually could be more because most of the real voter pull happens in the post 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
For instance, Charlotte Ritchie, who I'm going to talk about in a second, had her big sort of get out the vote rally at Prince Hall at 3 o'clock. After which they sent a couple hundred people out on the streets to start pulling out voters. So with so many candidates doing get out the vote, not only the mayoral but all of the city council candidates, we could see those the number that I'm projecting of like 110,000. We could actually see that go up with some strong after work turnout.
Sure. I mean, I've got emails from a couple of candidates, right after 3 o'clock, saying, reminding you to vote, reminding me to vote, or.
And I think this was a couple hours earlier, but I saw tweets from Marty Walsh saying, just give us a call if you need a ride to the polls.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't know how many people who need rides to the polls are on Twitter, but that's another question. So, Charlotte Ritchie, you said you were going to talk about her in a moment. Continue.
Yeah, I think what Peter was saying. Logically, my head says yes. We could very easily see, as a matter of fact, John Connolly, Marty Walsh, and Dan Conley, three white Irish guys with long political
Huzzah!
who
the final.
Who have the fundraising, who have the ground game, who have all the long political operations that they put in place. Those could be the top three very easily. The wild card, I would say, is Charlotte Ritchie. If demographics is destiny, she should be able to get one of the top two spots by getting votes both in the minority communities as well as a certain percentage of women and frankly people who just would like to see a woman in the final.
For what it's worth, I know that all these candidates you talk to them on election day, you ask how they're feeling, they say, "Oh, I'm feeling fantastic, everything's going perfectly," but sometimes it feels like they mean it, and sometimes it feels like it's bogus. And I talked to Ritchie in Maverick Square in East Boston and said, what are you seeing so far? How are you feeling? This is around lunchtime. And she said, just anecdotally, just based on what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing out there, I've got one of the top two spots. And I was struck at, again, they all say some variation of that, but she seemed almost borderline cocky, which could be taken as evidence to support your theory.
Well, it's interesting talking to the Conley campaign.
This is Dan
Conley and the Walsh campaign. I think those two campaigns see themselves as potentially running against. You know, their race today is with Gola Ritchie. Not so much with John Conley. Not so much. Most of the other campaigns, they won't say so in black and white, but they seem to cede the top spot to him. But let me finish my thought about Gola Ritchie, which is that I live right on the J.P. Roxbury line, and I have seen in the last 10 days tremendous upsurge in activity from the Gola Ritchie campaign. Some of it so pointed that up until a few days ago, when I was getting in the tea, Gola Ritchie workers would try to leaflet me. In the last couple of days, they didn't, I think because they were going after their voters, and the big hairy white guy in the business suit was not perceived as one of their voters.
All right, that's our wrap signal. Thank you very much. I just want to throw out one other idea and then talk about it. What if that tough Larry Harmon op-ed about Charlotte Gola Ritchie actually ends up motivating her supporters and boosting it?
It could be.
Kind of impressive. All right, guys, thank you as always for being here. WGBH political analyst David Bernstein and WGBH political analyst Peter Kadzis. I'm Adam Reilly from the WGBH newsroom in Boston. Thank you again for watching The Scrum.